Alright, welcome back to One Piece Anime Review, episode 414. We're here reviewing episode number 1145 and the 1161st chapter of the manga. Basically, before I talk about the video, there will not be a review of the anime for the next couple weeks because next week they're taking a week off. And then 2 weeks from now, they're going to do a recap episode. So, probably won't be reviewing One Piece for, well, I'll be reviewing the manga for the next few weeks, yes. But the anime, well, I still got the re-review for the dub. I still got that. But for new stuff, for anime, no. I'm like, and my complaint about the recap episodes, like, okay. I'm like, what the heck is there to recap? Why not just, I don't know, how about adapt the freaking cover stories? That might be an interesting idea to do, but would Toei do it? I don't know. They've only adapted the first two. Yeah, they adapted the first two because the first one was necessary. They had to adapt it. I'm like, you have all these freaking cover stories for One Piece. No, that's not a joke. It seriously is true. You have all these cover stories for One Piece. Because, if you think about it, the only one you can kind of say that got adapted, aside from the opening two, Buggy's Crew Adventures and Diary Kobe and Beppo, they loosely adapted Dun's Paradise, but after that, well, they did adapt Warfro's Orfa Harar. Yeah, that was adapted for one episode. And as for the rest, well, they did adapt, well, believe it or not, they did kind of adapt. Actually, no, they actually did not adapt, Where Are They Now? They never adapted that one. They did adapt Straw Hat Separation of Serial. Yep, that was adapted from the anime. So the only ones you can definitely say that were adapted were Buggy's Crew Adventure Chronicles, Diary of Kobe and Meppo, Wopo's Obverse Hara, Straw Hat Separation of Serial, and loosely adapting the self-proclaimed Straw Hat Grand Fleet separation stuff. Yeah, they adapted it for like kind of 2 episodes. And can you say this one was fully adapted? Well, so in the case of this one, however, for 85, it's basically 64, 65, 66, 68, 70, 71, 88, 903, and 904. So basically, the opening 3 chapters, 68, they skipped 60 and 70, 71, and then they adapted 88, 903 and 904. That's all I adapted. For 81, they adapted just 73 and 75. Okay, so I'd say almost half of this one was adapted. As for the reason why they haven't fully adapted some of the stuff, I don't know. I mean, you can I would just adapt basically some of these other ones. Yes. What about, there's also one called Karakakaha New World. That was kind of adapted for one episode. 921. Now, did this one adapt the whole thing? I'd say not entirely no, but they have to most of it. They skipped over 78 to 81, 83, 84. So this one was, most of this one was adapted, but it wasn't a full adaptation. I mean, a lot of these ones can make an easy, like, standalone episode if they wanted to, in order to tell the story. But were they adapted? Who the heck frickin' knows? But the thing is, that is all up to Toei for that one. And I say, Toei, adapt the cover stories. You got plenty of material there. Do it. So, basically this episode adapts the entirety of chapter 1111, which makes us with this episode, there are 14 chapters left to be adapted. Yes, you heard me correctly, 14 chapters of the arc itself. For those who are thinking like how far behind is how ahead is the manga? Well, given the fact that they just released 50 chapters. I guess they wanted to give an extra time, maybe. Not sure. So, here's what happens. We start with Jinbei going to get Zoro, and Zoro basically kind of declares the fight over because also with Sanji with the Giants, he taken away, and then the bird show is actually Marcus. That's the one of the 5 elders, and Rob Lucci gets info like where he is, like where is York. And she's like, she's a prison on the 4th floor. So the Straw Hats are. 2 Vegapunks, the Cyber Pole agents in the basement, and also, well, the airport basically. And apparently, he's very satisfied with the answer. He loves the answer because he got a lot of info. And then, of course, Lucci asks to save his partner. Don't know if he can. And by the way, that's the last you'll see Rob Lucci to the end of the arc. Yeah, that's the last of him. You won't see him again. I mean, he does make one appearance in the series after this, of course, the ending of this arc, but he's not appearing since then. So, in the case of some of the Straw Hats, Usopp, Chopper, Nami, Robin, with Lilith, of course. Basically, Chopper, I think it was Chopper, Lilith, and Prongus are basically trying to pull the Sunny out of its bamboo trap. Brooke is doing nothing but sipping tea. Robin is sleeping. Nami can't do it because she's not stronger. Usopp basically is not pulling it off because he doesn't have super strength. And not much else there. Well, in the case of where York is, basically she is, well, let's just say she is chained to the floor. And in that same room is Saucy and Kakeru. Kakeru is basically in a bubble. Saucy is not doing much anything at all until basically Mark shows up his bird form. Meanwhile, though, in the case of Luffy, well, they basically deal with Saint Saturn and I think it's like Warcraft. I think it is. Yeah, I think it's Warcraft. Where it's like, where in the case of Luffy, it's like, yeah, it's been 2 years, guys. And then, of course, they ring the horn to know they're going to escape. And then, of course, basically we have, like, Warcraft doing his own thing. And then Saint Saturn unleashes, like, balls on them. Yes, seriously, poison balls. So Luffy thinks they're poison, so he basically uses his powers to grab Bomb Tree and basically use his teeth to shave it down into a baseball bat, take out paint out of nowhere, paint it yellow, and put their 56 on it, put on baseball helmets, and it becomes like a baseball game, and he just swing, and of course they hit him. Oh, they're immortal, and then of course they all proceed to escape. Well, while basically Peter is like reassembling himself in his worm form, and basically is like going to chase after them. You're probably thinking, is that it? No, that's not it, because the episode ends with the Iron Giant standing up and pulling that beam that was him. Apparently it was a spear. Yes, a spear. Pulls out of his gut, and then he proceeds to walk, and basically he's apologizing to Joy Boy. By the way, he had just woken up 5 episodes ago, and now he started walking. That's actually the manga as well, not the anime as well for that. So, all in all, great episode. Loved it. And can't wait for the next episode, probably in 3 weeks, which we don't have an episode for yet. Probably won't find out for a couple weeks out. But we're not done just yet. Next up we have is basically, well, chapter 1161, A Song of Love, Bound Under Hail of Arrows. Well, first we have a cover story. We have basically cover, based on request, Luffy and Usopp catching Chopper plushie at a crane game by Kudo. But this is unusual because normally they take a week off for these, like if they have these cover quests. Oda does include these, but this one does. Yeah, for some reason he decided to include that 2-page thing, a title page, and then we have, get this, so then we have the next part of the Okur Chao Yamato's Golden Hour Secret Pilgrimage, Volume 43, Where the Heroes Sleep, where it's basically her, Kinemon, and Momo praying at a shrine for various people who died. So we have Oda in the middle. There is, so we have, and I had to look it up basically to see exactly who these people are. So let's see here. So the people here, we have Izo. He's actually Kiku's brother. They have a shrine for, they have a thing for him. You're thinking, okay. So Kazuki Toki and Odin, obviously, the husband and wife. Yosuke, he's Toka's father. Usuke Tamura and Fukuso Osui and Sasuma Umura, those 3 guys helped out Yamato. Otaka was the wife of Hanguro, who got killed by Orochi 20 years prior to the events of the main story. Yep, his wife. Which they never cast a dub actress for her. And there's Izu. Who's Izu, we might ask? That's Kiku's brother. Pedro. Someone named Karo. And Ashura Doji. And Lori's Martyr. Yeah, that's pretty much all the paper lanterns they have there for all these characters here. And they're all praying to it. And then we basically pick up, we left off last chapter where we're at the God Valley instance. By the way, several of these pages are 2-page spreads. Yes, I am not kidding about that. I have no idea what Oda did this for. Where, like, he had like 2 or 3 of these in a row, of these 2-page spreads. The first one basically looks like that these Celestial Dragons are yelling at the Navy to get their slaves. And then basically we have this person carrying 2 babies, Shanks and Fingerlin. And of course the thing is shot. And then apparently this person is one of the Holy Knights. Saint Moffy. Yes, that is his woman's name. Saint Moffy. You're thinking, who the heck is this woman? And apparently this woman is actually, this is not technically her debut. She debuted in the previous chapter. And, well, basically, well, yeah, she gets back to one of the kids. Like, so long, young man. And then she's sliced up by Whitebeard. And then here's Big Mom, when she's more slimmer and probably more prettier at this point. Yep. And we see them basically wrecking house with Shiki the Lion. Knocking away many people here. Oh, she's still there. And of course we have where one baby is like knocked out. I'm presuming that's either Shanks or Fingal. They don't say who it is. And then Garp basically is like, found myself first class fishing spot. And punches the ground. And of course we have Rox, Linlin, Zoros, Zeus is here. Prometheus probably make their early appearances. Whitebeard, now running away. And we see Garp seeing his father. Which, by the way, these is the first these two ever interacted ever the entire series. Yes, it is noteworthy that Garp is Dragon's father, but these two have never, ever shared the screen time together at all. And this is the first time they ever did it. And then we see Ironkov and Kuma, basically during the Kuma flashback from Egghead, because this flashback takes place. This is around that particular flashback. This flashback is an expansion on what we saw in the Kuma flashbacks. You got Fire Lin Lin. You could probably remember that. And then, of course, where we have this girl in her hat. Who she is, don't know. It's like, go right to it. Yeah, we're getting back Shiki. And then it's Silver King Rayleigh. Actually, no, that's someone named Saint Summers. You kidding me? One with handcuffs. Then she gets smacked by him being naive. Then she kicks him because, of course, the King of Pirates love kicking. Oh, back. Oh, live. Yep. And then you have Roger versus Whitebeard. For Shiki. Yep. And of course, she's about to basically have it, and then all of a sudden, then Rayleigh showed up, takes out the guy, hugs his future wife. Oh, Ray, what took you so long? I'm sorry. So scared. Never gonna do this later. We got Shiki back, boys. Now let's take a treasure, get out of the hell here. Yeah. Great chapter. Loved it. By the way, I give the chapter a 10 out of 10. It was really good. Now, does this mean we're wrapping up the flashback? I don't know yet, but they'll probably tell more story with the Rock Pirates, because that's the thing with the Rock Pirates. There's not much to them per se, but this flashback is exploring a lot about Rox himself, because he was first mentioned a while ago. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Because he was first mentioned a long time ago. Back in 957. That's when he was first mentioned. He was first brought up in episode 958. And yeah. It's like he was this mysterious pirate who just happened to show up in the series. And basically Oda is exploring this character. The character's long dead. I think the only reason why I'm allowed to explore because his past with Loki. Yeah, that's the only reason why I can think of, but great chapter overall, and I give the chapter a 10 out of 10. Okay, so that's pretty much the particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. I'm gonna get some dinner and come back to watch Super Sentai. Okay, next video. Bye.